I began to suspect my wife cheated on me, so I put private eye on her. I went pale when found out she was hiding her affair partner for a 6 month in my house at the guest room. Thanks to all of you who have contributed to breakup threads and infidelity threads over the past few months. There have been many evenings when many hours have been spent poring over the advice that is generated from these posts. It has helped me to formulate a plan and then execute it. Here is the short version of the last 7 months. Happily married, no kids, both professionals. My job requires a good bit of travel, which is not a big deal since her job forces her to work 80+ hours a week. We are both very busy, but her much more than myself. A few things didn't add up last September, so based on the advice on Reddit, the investigating began. It took me a long time to figure out what was going on because she was excellent at covering her tracks. Around November, all of the pieces came together and outside help was brought in to help me get all my ducks in a row. An attorney was hired and so was a private eye. In January, everything was confirmed 100% by the PI, and that was all the proof that I needed. After much thought, today is the day that everything ends. I have been planning it since the visual confirmation earlier this year. She is being served at her office today at 4 p.m. Based on conversations she has had with me and conversations she has been having with the other guy, there is no way she has any idea that this is coming from me. It will be a shock, but certainly not a surprise. The divorce will be very simple since we earn about the same amount of money and don't have a ton of stuff. The truck is in front of the house, and it is now loaded. I am moving out of state. It doesn't matter where I live since I am in sales and my territory is half of the United States. The furniture that is going with me are the pieces that were given to me by my family when we married. She can have everything else, and she is going to be keeping 3/4 of it anyway. I am driving the truck myself and can't wait to get to my new condo and start a brand new life. My last 6 months have been pure hell. Here is the question, and I think I already know the answer, but would love to hear your opinions. Her other guy is a coworker at the law firm. He is early 50s with a wife and 3 daughters. They don't appear to work in the same department, and he is not her boss. By all appearances, he has a great family and a great life. Do I contact his wife as I am leaving town? Would you want to know? Am I just being spiteful? Edit, she got the papers. Phone calls and texts nonstop for the last 15 or so minutes. Her sister and mother have phoned me as well. I have not responded to any of them. Also, I am moving from a large city in the Northeast to Florida. Trying to get to South Carolina tonight and then to my final stop tomorrow. I am stopping for gas and coffee right now, and I really appreciate all of the kind words. Edit number 2, I am still on the road, but getting closer to my new home. Last night was very interesting. I did not speak with her or text her. I did speak on the phone with my mother and her sister. My words were very careful and thought out to her sister, as I would expect her to hang up the phone with me and tell her everything. Talking to my mom was not easy. It is a humiliating situation to discuss with your family. My mom gave me 100% support and is coming to visit me next weekend at my new place. Moms are the best. I will get settled in and update everything in a couple of days. I have decided to not contact the boyfriend's wife. I could change my mind down the road, but for now no contact with her is planned. Looking forward to starting new. Update. I got into my new place Friday evening and got unpacked and settled in on Saturday. It is very strange to be starting over again, but it is the right thing to do. Thank you for all of your encouragement and your questions. Here are some answers. There was never a response by me to my soon-to-be ex-wife. Her calls and texts went unanswered, and they eventually stopped yesterday morning. The last one she sent said that she will sign the papers and grant me the divorce, while thanks. There was some conversation between her sister and myself. We had a brief guarded phone call Thursday night, and then a long and very helpful follow-up on Saturday. While she wants to protect her sister, she understands exactly why I did what I did, and does not blame me for it. After the call, there doesn't seem to be any hostility towards me, and I am grateful for that. Based upon many of your suggestions, the other guy's wife will have to remain in the dark from me. Leaving the situation for me means not staying involved. Now, if she called me up and wanted to know what was going on, I would tell her everything. No hesitation at all. Here is the hard part: how did I catch her? Last summer, there were some subtle changes in her behavior, and each one of these by itself is no biggie, but as a group they bothered me. She started drinking more. It went from one drink of wine once a week to nearly every night. There were a couple of times where she lost her cool over little things that tend to happen in life. Blowing up at a waitress, guy on the metro, kid at Chipotle, etc. She was never like that before. There was a night where she yelled at her parents on the phone and hung up on them, which was way out of character for her. But here is the one that set this all in motion. At a wedding last fall, one of our college friends was there and recently divorced. The friend was lonely and feeling terrible about herself. My wife suggested that someone should sleep with her to get her confidence back, and that she was alright with it if it was me. Needless to say, I was stunned and would never do anything like that. That night while laying in bed, the only reason that I could think of to make her say that was that she was fooling around and looking for a way to ease her guilt. And I was right. It just took me a while to piece together what was going on. As stated earlier, the guy is an older man who works for the same firm as her. For a while, they were meeting during the day at different hotels around town. When I was out of town, she was hosting him in our home. They used our guest bedroom, which did not occur to me for almost 6 weeks. After establishing how they communicated, burner phone, hidden in her car, and where they were meeting, our house mostly, it was easy for me to gather all the evidence that would make it easy for me to file papers. Thank you to a lawyer and a private eye. With a PI, you can hear and see everything in graphic detail. There were a lot of tears shed by me when confronted with the blunt reality of what was happening and what was being said about me to him, and what was happening in my own home. However, as many of you have pointed out, she is the one in the wrong, and I can hold my head up high knowing that I did the right thing. Oh well, I hope that answers some questions. Girlfriend is in huge panic after I exposed her affair to her parents and cut her out of my life completely. This is a throwaway. All names changed. It is going to be long, so bear with me. My ex Anna, 23F, is my sister Abby's, 23F, best friend. My sister and I were never close, mostly because I spent most of my life in a hostel and moved out pretty quickly after I got into college. When Abby started college, she moved in with me to save money. So I got introduced to her best friend of over 16 years, Anna, and we started dating. Abby had a huge role in this, because she seriously wanted us to end up marrying each other. However, the relationship blossomed and we moved in together. So, me, Anna and Abby lived together, and it was amazing. We were like a happy little family. The relationship was progressing smoothly, to my knowledge. We had plenty of sex, and Abby made sure she gave us a lot of privacy. It was bliss. Until she cheated on me with her ex. I recently got a promotion and my work hours increased. So one day, I took a half day and came home to hear Abby yelling at Anna as loud as humanly possible. I didn't want to get into the middle of it, so I just waited for them to be over. She was yelling stuff like, "You shouldn't have contacted XBF. You shouldn't have ducked him. Can you even imagine how hurt I will be? If you don't want him, break up." This piqued my interest, and I went to the lawn and eavesdropped on their conversation. She had been ducking him for 3 months, and basically went to him when I was at work or when she told us she had class. Most of the conversation was her justifying her actions, and Abby yelling at her for being human garbage and that she shouldn't have told her. From what I could gather, Abby knew about this for quite some time. She was saying things like he charmed her into bed, that he was a god in bed, and it had nothing to do with me. She loved me with all her heart, supposedly, but still had some unresolved feelings for XBF. She wanted to experiment sexually, which she could obviously do with me. She was trying to validate her actions by saying that humans are not made for monogamous relationships, and that it doesn't matter anymore because she ended it. At this point, my sister got a call and the conversation ended. I was heartbroken and went for a long walk, after which I called my best friend and asked him what to do. He immediately told me that I should just take my stuff and move in with him. We made a plan. I would go home and act tired, and leave at night without their knowledge. I did what he said. My sister acted like everything was normal, and even though I tried to coax some information out of her, she didn't budge and stuck to her lies. This made me feel like she was at fault. She betrayed me, not as much as Anna, but she did. Anna even tried to initiate sex, but I was utterly disgusted at her. When everybody fell asleep, I packed some stuff and left. I didn't leave a note or anything. I just left. I blocked both of them everywhere. I called my father and told him everything, and he supported my decision. But he said that I should try and forgive my sister, and I told him that I would try. Within a week, I sent them a notice to move out within 30 days. Abby texted me from another number, and we talked for some time. She was extremely apologetic and said she didn't know what to do. She asked me for an extension on the date because neither of them have enough money to move out, and that they'd move out within another 14 days. She offered to cut Anna out of her life to save our relationship, but I thought it was too late for that, and that it didn't matter. I was not interested in any relationship with either of them because they had broken my trust when living under my roof, mostly on my money. She had known what was going on from the very beginning of the affair, but chose to remain silent because she didn't want to damage her relationship with me or with Anna. I told her that I'd try to forgive her and hung up. I unblocked her at my father's request. Meanwhile, Anna is miserable. Apparently her depression is back with much more intensity. She has panic attacks at night because I'm not with her, has nightmares of me getting married to someone else, and in general has a lot of anxiety. All she does is stay in my room and hugs my clothes. WTF. She has withdrawn from all her friend circles. She doesn't go to college anymore. She barely eats. She does send me a bunch of emails, but they go to trash and she is blocked on all of my social media. Now, Abby and some of Anna's friends have contacted me and asked me to get back with her because if this goes on she would die. They know what's happened between them because the ex-BF told them. He was just using her for sex, and did make that clear to her. He was unaware of the fact that she was in a relationship. He ended things when he felt she was developing feelings. But still, her friends ask me to talk to her again, even just as a friend. Ideally, I should feel no sympathy towards her. She was well aware of the ramifications of her decisions. She could have told me, and maybe I could have forgiven her. She could have broken up with me. She could have done a number of things which would have resulted in this being much more pleasant for both of us. I really don't want to talk to her again, but I am concerned for her and feel a bit guilty over the fact that she is deteriorating mentally and physically over me. I'm helpless. I feel like I overreacted. I feel like she deserves closure, at least. I don't know. I feel guilty because I cut my sister out of my life. I need some unbiased opinion on my reaction, and some advice would be greatly appreciated. Update: first of all, I'd like to thank every person who lent me an ear. I haven't been able to respond to a lot of comments, but I have read every single one. Okay, so some people suggest that I should have a conversation with her. In all honesty, I don't think I am ready to face her anytime soon. The conversation she was having with Abby made me feel very inferior, and I don't want to feel that way again. That is part of the reason why I ghosted her instead of kicking her out. Her apathy towards the whole thing was really hurtful. I don't want to see her or get back with her ever again, just to be clear. Her mental state has always been fragile, and she constantly changes therapists because they are not good enough, or it was not working. She is on medication for her anxiety. I am fairly certain she has her medication with her, but I don't think she has been taking them. I still feel responsible for her though. As for my sister, I don't know how long it will take for me to talk to her again. But now I most certainly can't. My wife went behind my back to hang out with her ex. My wife and I are 21 and 22 respectively. We've been married for 6 months. We met when I was 18 and she was 16. She dated this dude in middle school who she says she fell in love with, but broke her heart when he left her for a model. After that, she started sneaking out and hooking up with random guys, eventually having had, at the least, a dozen different partners by the time we met, which was jarring when I found out, but was fine with, as long as that all stays in the past. Throughout our relationship, she's had issues with her self-image. She's cut herself a few times and said she tried to end herself before we met. She would always go on bouts saying that she's ugly, worthless, stupid, a bad person, that I should leave her for someone better, she's dragging me down, etc., and I'd constantly tell her how all of that is BS, she's perfect for me, I don't care if anybody is better, and I'd never leave. She'd reciprocate with I love you so much, or you treat me too well, or can't wait to spend the rest of our lives together. Needless to say, I did kinda put the blame onto this one dude for messing her up so badly, although admittedly all he did was break up with her. So flash forward 4 years later, we're to get married in a month, about to buy a house, and all's good. One day I go to use her phone to send my cousin something on Snapchat, cause I think it's kinda dumb, and don't want to put it on my phone, and I see that she's talking with the dude she dated in middle school and hasn't spoken to since. Not only that, but I see that she asked him what kind of drink from Starbucks she wants, as well as him sending her his address. Like alright, what the duck? So I kind of try to play it cool for the rest of that day, asking how her day was and seeing if she'd tell me, but she just kept lying to my face. I finally break down towards the end of the night and told her what I knew and demanded an explanation. She says that they'd been talking for a bit, and that he recently broke up with his girlfriend, and that she was going over there to talk and make him feel better. I have no idea how that explanation was supposed to make me feel better, but whatever, at least I was getting the truth. So through tears I'm trying to ask why the deception, and she says that she didn't want it to look bad and didn't want to hurt my feelings, and that they weren't messing around or anything, they're just hanging out as friends. So that caused quite a rift in our relationship, largely in the trust one have for her, but that eventually grew back. I said that, even though it made me very uncomfortable, I didn't care if they hung out as friends, but she needed to tell me and not hide it. I think they hung out once or twice shortly after that. So 6 months later, a few things have changed. We've gotten married, bought a house, and she now has a few female friends that she hangs out with, mainly to the gym or at our house. She hasn't been as depressed, and for the most part, her self-image is great. Having a house, specifically a mortgage, we don't go out as much as we used to. We try to cook at home as often as we can to save money. Sunday, she randomly says that she wishes we never got married, and that she's too young, and wishes she could be single like her friends, and go to the club and let loose without having to worry about me wondering where she is. Note, I don't bug her while she's out, she used to with me though, but it didn't bother me. This is pretty ducking shocking, only 6 months after our wedding, which I didn't care a whole lot while we were engaged, it was her that pushed how badly she wanted to be married. I reminded her of this, and if the fact that she wanted to have a kid a couple of years ago, to which I said we should wait until we have a house and make more money, and she says she's so glad we didn't know. I asked if she wants to take a break to duck other people, she says no, but maybe if it was a one-time thing, and I was okay with it. I admit that I often think about ducking, but that's more of a biological urge that I would never act on, as our relationship is worth more than that stuff could ever mean. Note, over the past year or so her libido has been very low, opposite of mine. She says she just doesn't think about sex anymore. I say no, I don't want to do that, that we're married, and that means we only duck each other. Note, I'm raised Christian, and she's not, and judging by her earlier life, I doubt her parents taught her much about sex. I tell her I can give her all the space she needs, but I'd rather break up before she cheats on me, consensually or otherwise. Monday, we talk more. I suggest we could talk to a marriage counselor. She says no, we don't need that, that's stupid. I ask if she can at least get her hormones checked out. She says okay. She says she hates being at home and wishes we could go out more like we used to. Since we both have Tuesday off, I say we can both go out to dinner and get some drinks and walk around downtown. Tuesday, we do all that, have a great time. Wednesday, I ask if she still wishes we weren't married. She says no, she doesn't know why she said all of that stuff, that she actually does want to have a kid with me, and that she doesn't think about what she says before she says it. Everything seems great, but later that night I were laying in bed listening to music on her phone. She's fallen asleep, and, somewhat regrettably, I went to her Snapchat, which she was logged out of, probably so notifications don't show up. I see she's talking with that same dude again. She'd asked if he wanted to hang out tomorrow, Thursday. So yeah, needless to say that kept me up for the majority of the night. Also note that she got her braces off today that she's had for 2 years. Her teeth used to be pretty crooked. Kinda adds to my suspicion that she wants approval from her ex. Thursday, I'm leaving for work and ask if she has any plans for the day she's off. She says no, maybe paint her nails and go to the mall. Reluctantly, I say okay, giving her the benefit of the doubt in that maybe he declined her offer. Throughout the day, she keeps texting me asking if anything's wrong, which I keep saying no, I'm just tired. At one point I ask if she needs to tell me anything, she says no, she doesn't. We meet up for lunch. I borrow her phone saying I need to send myself pictures from the trip Tuesday. I go to her Snapchat and he's telling her to come over. She's a bit suspicious but not fully. Later, once our food comes, I ask if she's gonna do anything after. She said she might go to her parents' house. So then I still think they're just friends, unlike last time, confronted her, telling her what I know, asking about what's up with the deception, etc. She says she didn't want to upset me, didn't mean to be deceptive, etc. It's at this point I really start to question if she has any empathy at all. I told her I don't care so much that she's hanging out with this dude, which is a lie. I'll think it's really weird to go over to your ex's house when you're married, but I guess that's just me, more so that she actively tried to hide it behind my back. She says she knows, she does things without thinking about the repercussions, is used to hiding stuff like she used to from her father when she would sneak out. I told her that I'm her husband, we're not supposed to be hiding crap from one another. I told her I'm pretty sick of this, I don't want to deal with this every 6 months of our relationship, that it's honestly not worth it at all. At the lowest point she says she wants to break up and I agree. Over the next 30 minutes we talk it out. She says she'll be more truthful, won't hide anything anymore. I say I'll put more of an effort into listening to her, and to take her more seriously, which I can understand. I tend to make light of everything as I use humor to get through life. I ask several times throughout if there's anything else she hasn't told me, she constantly says no, still kinda don't know if that's the truth, or if she's only saying no because she knows that I don't know about it, if that makes sense. So everything's fine at this point. She says she's gonna hang out with him afterwards, and I begrudgingly said alright. Later that night, she's taking a shower and, cause I can't control myself, as well as because the last 2 times I looked at her Snapchat was just them making plans to hang out, I looked again. I see she told him that we're done eating and she's gonna head over, and he says alright bae, and he also calls her boo in one sentence. So I ask, what's up with him calling you bae and boo? That's not something I'm cool with, those are pet names that people in relationships call each other, and she said that's just how he talks, which could very well be true, but I don't know the guy, and that it made her uncomfortable at first, but she doesn't care now. I told her that I'm putting my foot down and that another dude can't be calling my wife boo and bae, and that if I had a secret female friend that was calling me that, she'd feel the same way. She said okay, that she'll tell him not to anymore. Friday, I didn't sleep much last night. Constantly racking my brain. I can't help myself and go to check her phone, while she's still sleeping to see if he sent any good morning snaps to his bae. But she's changed her password. I don't blame her honestly, and I could totally be in the wrong, but I do feel like she's made me snoop like this. If she'd just been honest from the beginning, we wouldn't be in this situation. I sent her a few texts this morning letting her know how I feel. So that's where we're at now. We've had our ups and downs before, but these are the only 2 times we've been divided this much. The only real issues I've had with our relationship are this going behind my back and her low libido. Am I overanalyzing everything? Should I have just not snooped in the first place? What do I do now? Update. I read over everyone's suggestions. You were all right. I confronted her and demanded the truth. After a bit of interrogation, mainly repeatedly saying I need to know the truth, I know what's going on, I need to hear it from her, which I recorded, she finally confessed that they hooked up the first time, a month before we got married, as well as several times afterwards. I informed her that it was over, and then she broke down crying, saying that she doesn't want to lose me, has nothing without me, doesn't want to be with anyone else, etc. I told her no, it's over, she made her decision last year, and she obviously does not respect me or our marriage. She said just come lay down with me. Elle told her no, you need to go to your parents' house. They live 5 minutes away. You're not staying here. I called her sister who headed over to pick her up. She said she was going to end herself if I leave her, then went for the closet where our tool is. I grabbed her and held her back and got to the tool, where I removed the clip, made sure there was no bullet in the chamber, and zipped the clip into a pocket in my pants. I called the police. About 5 officers came, and they talked to us separately. That's the last time I spoke to her. The psychological evaluation officer spoke to her, and apparently she agreed to go with them. I hung out with my friend and my dad the rest of the night, had a few drinks, then passed out. This morning, I went to Lowe's to get cardboard boxes. I called her parents to see if they have any update, not because I want to talk to her or anything, I just don't want her hurting herself, and they said they're trying to get her out of the mental hospital, but they can't do that until the doctor sees them. I called up the hospital myself, told the lady who I was, who then told me that she's spoken to a doctor, but he hasn't made an evaluation. The lady asked if I wanted to speak with her. I could hear my wife crying in the background. After about 10 seconds I told her about the adultery, and that now is not a good time for me to talk to her. She asked if I was sure. I said yes. She asked if I wanted to relay message for her. After a moment, I said to tell her that I love her, and I want her to get help. I'm really just afraid of her hurting herself. If her parents take her home, I'm confident she'll try and hurt herself. I love her, but I 100% can't be with her after this. There's the slimmest chance that, if the doctors diagnose her with bipolar, BPD, etc., and she got help, and maybe decided to give herself to the Lord, but I'm not putting any eggs into that basket, especially at this stage. I don't want to talk to her. I just want to move on. What do I do now? Edit, she's still in the psychiatric hospital. Spoke with her father, who's a controlling crap who always yells, which could explain why she's afraid of getting found out, but at this point who honestly cares, and he's upset I called the police instead of calling him. The ducker was working an hour away, his daughter was threatening to end her life, and he's mad at me for calling the police and telling them she's a danger to herself. Unducking believable. He also said that it's a two-way deal in the sense that sometimes she'd ask you to do something around the house, like help with the dishes, and you'd ignore her. That's when I just said we're done talking and hung up. Dude's a crap. She was cheating 3 months before we even owned our house. We lived with my parents for a year so we could save up money and build up her credit. Meaning, it seems like she's over her I'm gonna end myself I feel so bad phase, so at least I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't think I'll meet with her face to face. What's done is done. It's over. I've got all the closure I need. It's all lies. Crazy wife cheated with a next-door neighbor while I was sleeping and now she is devastated I dumped her. True D-Day confession happened Thursday when my wife first tried to admit that she had been going to see the next-door neighbor, the just-a-friend guy, and ended up kissing him once and she felt so guilty. I didn't believe it. I knew from her actions and all the red flags that this affair started at least a month ago. She puked a couple times and then finally fessed up to having sex only that last time she went to his place. She has been to his apartment for at least 3 evenings. She showed me that they've only texted a few times. T-Mobile shows the truth to be nearly 1,000 times with a couple 2, 3, 4 a.m. sessions that last about an hour. Yeah, sexting. The first time is when she tried to sneak out at 2 a.m. to help him with a sick kid. About half an hour, maybe more, maybe less, but that was my first real oh crap moment. She met him first thing the next morning outside our door to walk dogs with him. The second time was to go visit with friends. She didn't say with whom or where, but I watched her walk into his place when she thought I wasn't looking. I walked to his apartment and all the lights were out. I knew it was real at that moment. I sat with my back against the wall of his bedroom. About an hour and a half later or so, she tried to sneak out his back door to hide her whereabouts. She saw me sitting in the grass and had the deer in the headlights look of panic, guilt and such. She had the nerve to sit next to me, but all I could smell was him and Zex. She denied it and said there were other people there. No, there weren't. I had heavy thoughts of Zuik died that night. Heavy. I even tempted myself with 3 different methods. But thankfully that was temporary. The third and final time I know of is the only time she admitted to sex with him. It was the night after we discussed divorce. I had just thanked her for something, and was being sweet. I was hoping I was wrong and all of this really was just as she said. I knew better, but I loved my wife with all my heart, and she was my best friend for 15 years. I wanted to believe her. Then I did something stupid. The AP was out of the area and she and I started having seemingly unguarded, vulnerable conversations about our relationship problems in the past, her current issues with what she perceives is bad with us, etc. She pushed all the right buttons to convince me she had never ever, even once, had sex with him, but did admit she was attracted to him. I told that if that was true, I wanted at least one good weekend with her, sex and all. But I wouldn't dare if she had already cheated on me with him. She was so convincing. Tears, hugs, vulnerable talk and all. So we did. I even helped her pick out a new vibrator. I'm so damn stupid and naive. She did lie. She did cheat. She had sex with him more than the one time. When you know, you know. So many songs and poems have been written on this very subject. I know I'm not alone in this, but what I know is fresh and cannot be unknown now. Like many of you, I struggle with this every single moment of every single day and night. When I'm awake, I imagine them together, hear what they say about me. The self-deprecating thoughts of how she finds sex far more satisfying with him than it ever was with me. And when I sleep, the nightmares come. Often they are worse than when I'm awake. If I do have a moment of peaceful sleep, I wake up after only a few minutes and I realize that this is still real and all the air escapes me and I cannot breathe. We had just decided in March to really make an effort to be a better husband and wife and parents to our daughter. I worked my butt off to show my best self, opened myself vulnerable to her, and at first, so did she. But she met the fat, ugly dog guy next door, and did a swift 180 on me. I was shocked. That was a month ago. She said the standard "he's just a friend" thing. She then told me she wanted me to move out because she wanted to be her own self for a while. I didn't understand because I hadn't done anything wrong that I was aware of.